Welcome to the JD Bunkis podcast. Everybody be nice to each other today. Take a beat before you react. Try. Because this entire city, and we can throw in the country, because even if you're on the West Coast, that was late. They're bleary-eyed. They're tired. And they're cranky. That's everybody listening to this right now. The fun of sports, the joy of sports, the shared experience of it all. It sucks when it's that. It sucks when it's that way that you share an experience of just, ugh. Are you kidding me? It's like a little bit of a fun that happens with a ball game like that, where it gets later and later. All of a sudden, you turn into your childhood self, where you're saying, "Ooh, it's past my bedtime. It's so far past my bedtime." All of a sudden, you know, your dad told you that you got to stay up and watch the game or watch some movie because you couldn't miss it. But in the end, with this one, it's going to be remembered for all the wrong reasons. Series isn't over. They're down 2-1. You got a shot to bounce back today. Really feels like you got to win today. You got to even it up 2-2. Going down 3-1 against this Dodgers team, hard to see it. I know that they've been the great procrastinators all season long. I get that they've been the comeback kids. I get that they've been the just when you think that they're out Blue Jays, but this Dodgers team is a different animal. And that's part of what stings so much about a loss like that is you felt low when they lost to the Mariners. And again, the season's not over, but there's definitely going to be a tone of crybabiness to this show today. But it's the Dennis Green. They were who you thought they were, and you let them off the hook. You punched their starting pitcher in the mouth. You had the blueprint. It was right in front of you. You got the Max Scherzer start, which is going to be forgotten in all this. Does anybody remember that's listening to this that Max Scherzer started in this game and it was a major talking point? And that he was solid? You got to Tyler Glasnow. You chased him from this game. He left in the 5th inning. You got to a Dodgers bullpen that was vulnerable. They were supposed to be vulnerable. Kirk has a moment, a 3-run shot that felt like it was justice after some of what had transpired early on for the Blue Jays. Again, there's so many things to go over from this baseball game that you're gonna parse over all of those little details forever. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts. It's like a slow form of torture where they're just keeping you alive. Just keeping you alive so that you can talk. Just to see if they'll break you. That was that baseball game. As it went on and on and on, and every single time out, the Blue Jays offense looked feeble. They looked like they had no shot. It felt like a death march. Again, it was torture. It was torture watching them. But because of who they've been all year, you couldn't turn it off. Because of the stakes, you couldn't turn it off. You had to stick with it. You stuck with it for, 6.5 hours? Second longest game in World Series history. It was almost 3 a.m. when it finished. And I bet that a lot of you were like me, where as soon as it ended, you went, okay, at least now I can sleep. But then for, I don't know, another half hour, I think that's what it was for me. I just kind of stared at the ceiling in the dark, thinking about all of those little moments, all of the tiny little things. I shouldn't even say tiny, all of the big things that happened in that baseball game in order for the Dodgers to steal it. I don't think it was a good game for John Schneider. I think the Blue Jays got outmanaged. And you saw the lack of panic in Dave Roberts when Max Muncy was on second base. I want to say in like the 13th inning. I don't know when anything happened. Okay. I'm not going to be able to. A lot of this breakdown today is going to be me trying to just basically go, remember, I'm going to be the member berries. Remember this? Remember that? And that's it. I'm not going to have like, and then it was the bottom of the ninth. Like, I don't got it. I don't got it. It's all just a blur of pain. A real pain blur. Ugh. It's just the taste of that. It's going to sit in your mouth. Ugh. I think John Schneider got outmanaged. I think that Dave Roberts, whenever that decision was that they didn't decide to pinch run Max Muncy on second base, and that's not even ultimately what resulted in the victory for them. But you saw him go, we don't know how long this thing is going to last, and so we're going to play it cool. We're going to just let our best players stay on the field in this baseball game. John Schneider went with the opposite approach. Yes, have they gone defensive all year? Yes, has the defense been a calling card? But when George Springer went out of that ball game with a deeply unfortunate injury, you hope he's okay. But man, if you're a baseball fan, you know that an oblique and George Springer of all people, like a guy that we just saw wear a fastball to his kneecap, who got up, who had to hobble off the field, and then somehow managed to go to an emergency room in Mississauga in, 6-7 hours later, and worked his way onto the field to have one of the most magical moments in Blue Jays franchise history. For him to go like that with that injury, it's different. I don't think that's like a play through the pain one. My guess is that he's out and that Ty France is in. And if it's up to me, I think I'm still DHing Ty France if you feel like he can give you credible bats. But yeah, George Springer goes out, and there's just a few spots. Kirk is one where I think it's kind of defensible. He's pretty big liability on the base paths, although, man, Tyler Heineman almost was when he didn't slide into third, and he beats out a ball by 2 seconds. Not even. A millisecond? The Miles Straw one for Addison Barger, that's a real, in the moment, I hated it. I have receipts. I texted multiple friends, the people that were up with me throughout the entirety of that game. It was, hey, I don't like this. How much faster is Addison Barger? I was even asking I don't know how to check the sprint speeds. I don't know where that is on the internet. But I was asking the Blake Murphys of the world, the Ben Nicholson Smiths of the world, like, how much faster is Miles Straw than Addison Barger in the first place? Like, what is the upgrade here in terms of the speed that you're getting from this guy in that spot? I didn't like it. I thought that it was an overthink, and I thought that it was a little bit too desperate, a little bit too horned up from John Schneider. And again, I thought he was a little bit more panicky in this game than Dave Roberts was. And ultimately, it didn't end up being the difference in terms of how the Dodgers won this thing. But when you go 2 of 12 with runners in scoring position, you leave 19 on base, you go something stupid like, I think it was 2 of 24. They were dreadful from basically the entire extra innings. The extra baseball game that you watched was, again, the water torture. It was just that drip, 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 watching them come to the plate over and over and over again. 2 of 12 with runners in scoring position. And yeah, like, again, so many things. But the offense and the way that it looked and the way that you felt, the fact that it played out that way. Yeah, they needed Tyler Heineman to be here. Like, they needed too many guys that Yes, I've had moments throughout the course of a regular season. And yes, it's the Dodgers' last guy of the bullpen. There's like a false promise that comes through the broadcast from Tom Verducci where they go, Dave Roberts might just basically forfeit this game and throw a position player in. And then people are wondering if he was being cute and he meant Shohei Ohtani, but he wasn't warming up. And there was no way that they were going to throw that guy in cold. All of a sudden, you're seeing Roki Sasaki and you're thinking, oh, well, maybe at least this guy gets in here and potentially that throws things off. If you can get back to Toronto, he's not maybe pitching in game 6. Maybe they'd have to bump him back for a game 7. Torture. That was just torture. Ugh. But yeah, I think a lot of it boils down to your manager pulled too many guys, got too cute with the defense, got too cute with the base running. And you just couldn't come up with that one big hit that has been pretty much the signature for this Blue Jay season. Anyways, the man with the biggest baseball podcast on planet Earth, Jared Carrabis, Baseball is Dead, and of course, Section 10. The guy's up doing live streams all night, panicking. He's doing a podcast until probably, 4:30 a.m., and I'm texting baseball people, like, all around going, hey, like, I know it's West Coast. Can you do the show tomorrow? Can you do the show tomorrow? It's like, oh, it's too early. It's too early. I texted you like, hey, you don't even have to do this. And what does he give me? He gives me a text back that says, this is like what I live for. This is the World Series. Of course I'm doing this. And he joins me now. Jared Carrabis. What's up, buddy?
JD, it's good to see you. Yeah, I mean, so I had texted you to check to see if you were still awake because I know that there's like people out here on the East Coast that by that point they're going to sleep because they've got to wake up and they've got to be on the air. So they would go to sleep and then they would watch the highlights and then kind of cheat the system that way.
No.
But I was like, all right, if he's still awake, I'm doing it. Like, there's no way. Like, if we're just going to be in this together, we're both just tired and miserable, then like, let's roll.
I think that it's completely unacceptable to watch a game like that and turn it off if you are a baseball fan. Like, I don't even care what your job is. You have to stick it out. You have to watch that. It got to that's the second longest game in World Series history. And as painful as it is, what you did watch was a historical baseball game. But like, this is ultimately my biggest takeaway from this is that's an instant classic, right? That's a clear, true blue instant classic. The problem is when you're on the other side of an instant classic, it can haunt you forever. There are 100 different things from that baseball game that you are just going to be doing something randomly. You're going to be doing a grocery run on a Tuesday. You're going to be, in a coffee shop standing in line. You're going to be visiting your girlfriend's parents. And all of a sudden you go to the bathroom, you look in the mirror and you remember, oh my God, remember that umpire who decided to ring up Dalton Varsho on a strike that was a foot high that would have ended up in a loaded bases situation early in the ball game. Oh my God, remember when Tyler Heineman was at the plate and just needed somehow to find a single that would have cashed 2 runs. Oh my God, remember Addison Barger getting pulled for Miles Straw in a horrible moment. Oh my God, remember pitching to Shohei Ohtani, the world's best baseball player, and then walking him the rest of the way. And how many times did he get on base? 8 in that game? Again, another World Series record. You're going to think about all of these tiny little paper cuts till the day you die, unless the Blue Jays can find their way back into the series. And that my friend, is the pain of sports, and that is the sports fan's ultimate nightmare.
It was 9 times, by the way.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, I think when you were watching the game, specifically from like the Dodgers perspective, because they had, how many times did you think that they had hit a walk-off home run? I mean, it was the Will Smith pimped it. I think Freddie had one to end an inning that went deep to center that looked like it could have been gone. That was caught. There was the Max Muncy ball down the line that just went foul, that it was a vicious hack that looked like that could have been gone. And then Teoscar Hernandez, I think, pimped one as well. But to your point about the being on the wrong side of the instant classic, I was there because in 2018, I was in LA. And so I don't know, like, it's definitely a worse situation for you guys, but that night it was you went 18 innings, you lost, and you also burned your game 4 starter. So I was looking around being like, what are we gonna do now? Like this is kind of like a momentum shifter. I think at that point it was still 2-1 Boston, so it's different in terms of like where the series is at. But I think it's also you have to look at the Springer situation. It's like, all right, you didn't lose your game 4 starter. Shane Bieber went down to the bullpen and he was getting loose, but he didn't have to throw any warm-up pitches. He didn't end up coming into the game. So you still have your game 4 starter intact, but the George Springer injury does not look great. I mean, like that was an immediate call for the trainer, and let's face it, he's been the second best offensive performer for the Blue Jays this postseason. If you just go by the numbers, so it's not that just that you lost the game and that you have uh, had your whole bullpen go out there and fight for their lives for 2 baseball games back to back right before having to play this game 3 or this game 4, excuse me. You lose. I don't know, not like the lifeblood because that's Vladdy, but I mean Springer's right there in terms of what he did for this Toronto Blue Jays team. So I don't know. I don't know how I'd be feeling today if I'm a Blue Jays fan, but it can't be good.
It's bad. It's really bad. I feel so bad. And like one of the things about this team is that they overcame adversity all season long, right? And even throughout the postseason run, they didn't have Bo Bichette until now. He led the American League in hits before he was injured. Led the American League in doubles. I think actually led all of Major League Baseball in doubles when he was hurt. Anthony Santander was the middle of the lineup bat that was supposed to be the cure-all for a team that had no offensive punch the year before, that was not able to have any power throughout their lineup. He shows up in the postseason, and basically the only thing that you could say positive about him was, I thought that his at-bats looked all right. You know, he had a couple of good at-bats. That's a nightmare for somebody that you gave over $100 million to. But they've endured all of this, and now it kind of feels like with losing Springer, they've lost a real irreplaceable piece. Going from George Springer to Ty France is about as big of a drop-off as you're going to get. Like you get the bends from surfacing that soon, going from Springer to France. Springer's just one of those guys. He's an all-time leader in postseason history when it comes to extra base hits, to home runs. He's extremely clutch. Like he's a massive, massive, massive piece of this lineup. He's the guy that sets the table. He's their leadoff hitter. You trust him in a big spot when he comes up that he's going to give you a good at-bat. And I just don't feel that same way about Ty France. Ty France isn't going to hit leadoff, but that also begs the question of like, okay, well, what does your lineup look like now? Are you going Ernie Clement in the leadoff spot against righties, basically, until Snell? I don't know. Are you going to play Ty France at DH? Are you going to shift Bo to DH and ask somebody else to play like more IKF who, no thanks, man? Like, I've had enough IKF to last multiple lifetimes. I think that the ripple effect from this game, no Bieber aside, like the one joy of this game is that he doesn't have to go into that. To go up against that juggernaut, this team that has that starting pitching staff, that has now a bullpen that probably feels a little bit more confident after an outing like that has Shohei hitting the way that he is, to have Freddie Freeman, who you just knew it. Like, you just knew that it was going to be him at some point, Mr. Clutch. Whew, it's a tough hill to climb, man. So this and the Springer thing is, it looked like oblique, and you know that, man. Oblique is like the death sentence to a hitter. This isn't him playing through pain. That's going to be him completely physically compromised. I don't think there's any way that he plays the next game.
If it weren't the World Series, it's kind of like a never say never type deal. Like if he can, it's a pain tolerance thing. Like is he at risk of damaging himself anymore and putting his 2026 season at risk? No, but it's a pain tolerance thing. So I hate to put that on him too, because then at the end of it, it kind of sounds like, well, are you just not toughing it out? Like, are you just not playing? Like it hurts. It's not a fun injury to have, and that's why you see a lot of guys that have it. They go down and they go down for a while. But it is the World Series. It is after an 18-inning loss, and it is to put Toronto down 2-1 in the series. I mean, I feel like, to give you some perspective, as a Boston guy, when Nathan Eovaldi gave up a walk-off home run to Max Muncy in the 18th inning in 2018, it wasn't like some solemn clubhouse experience. He at that point was coming out for his seventh inning of relief work, and no one let him hang his head. Everyone was kind of in awe of his effort after what he did, and who knows what happened in that Blue Jays clubhouse last night. Like, there were guys that deserved a ton of credit for the way that they battled and the way that maybe Springer's one of those guys that he's firing up everyone in the clubhouse after something like that, because he's also been there and done that in the postseason, as you mentioned. So the truth is, we don't know what the morale is. The fan morale is obviously down. That's a tough loss to swallow, given all the circumstances. But from a player perspective, we don't know how they're feeling coming into Game 4. Shane Bieber could go out there, and he's one of those guys that if you heard him, he did an interview with Dallas Braden, who I do Baseball is Dead with. He has a show called Slab Lab where he interviews different pitchers and talks about their routines and inside the mind of the pitcher. And when his elbow blew with Cleveland, his mindset was, I understand what has just happened here. I'm in a lot of pain. I know that I'm going to be gone for a while, but I've got to finish this inning. Like, that's the kind of guy that's on the mound for the Blue Jays in Game 4. That's the type of guy that's going to look at the situation and say, my bullpen just, went to battle last night for 18 innings, and we just lost one of the most important pieces of our entire team. It's on me. Like, I have to step up. I have to be the guy. I have to get as many outs as I can tonight. So I expect to see a very locked in, almost hyper-focused Shane Bieber tonight. Maybe a Shane Bieber that Blue Jays fans are not familiar with seeing. Only having him on the team for half a season now. I think the Shane Bieber that you're going to see on the mound tonight is going to have some Max Scherzer ALCS vibes to him.
I hope so. I desperately hope so. And I will say this, if there's one piece of optimism that you cling to outside of it just still being 2-1 and there's still being plenty of series left, and it's that this group, the way that they've been all season long, has been as tight-knit as any that I can remember. I think that when they do get punched in the mouth, they always seem to respond in kind. It's the reason why, despite them being down to, like, let's be honest, man, the Buffalo Bison's roster, basically. You had, in that game, it's like Miles Straw's coming up every big spot. It's Tyler Heineman's coming up every big spot. You're genuinely praying for Nathan Lucas. Like, you're saying, please, Nathan Lucas, guy who almost retired from baseball this year if he didn't make the Toronto Blue Jays, get to the plate and make something happen, because you are one of the only bright spots that is remaining in the lineup, that they would find a way to be able to get something done, because that's what this season's been about. It's been about comebacks and unsung heroes. And so I don't think that they are going to be as down on the group as fans are. I think you're bang on with that assessment. I don't think that they're going to be looking around the room going like, woe is me, or even if Springer can't play, which would be my guess, that the team responds with, well, now if we don't have George, how are we supposed to be able to win? That's not who they are. That hasn't been their DNA. They're absolutely still in this series. It's just like, again, you watch enough sports, you see games like that. You get Eric Lauer giving you 4 innings where he just goes out there and shoves, and your bullpen gives, Braden Fisher goes out there and does what he does. Even Brendan Little for the first inning that he pitched. You get that kind of pocket from guys who grind out outs, and you think, how is that ever going to be able to happen again? You get to Tyler Glass now in the 5th inning, and you chase him, and you get to that bullpen, and you have a tough time kind of parking, again, all those little memories. So if I'm trying to just distill it down to you, if there's one moment in that game that you think you will think about the most from a Blue Jays perspective of, hey, was that a mistake, what would it be?
So I got killed for it, but that send where I can't remember who got thrown out at home plate. Was it Vladdy?
No, Vladdy was supposed to be up. It was Davis Schneider. So
okay,
Davis Schneider's in to pinch
out.
run. Yeah.
He was super out, but there was 2 outs. I didn't, like, I look at that play as almost like if I'm the third base coach, which Carlos Fabulous, Boston ties, I'm sending him two.
Yeah.
It takes a perfect relay. Like the Dodgers, they are that. Like they are the juggernaut. They are the best team in baseball, whatever. They're the highest paid. They're the most talented, however you want to label them. It still takes a perfect relay to get that out at home plate. And it was a perfect relay. Like it is what it is. At that point in the game, when runs are at a premium, you take that chance. So I don't know if there's one moment that I kind of look back on with regret. I think when the home plate umpire blowing that call and then leading to Bo getting picked off, thrown out at first base, however you want to call that too. Like that was probably the most crucial play where it's like, like that's not Bo. Like that's not how he plays the game. Like he's not,
You
out to
blame Bo
lunch
for that though, because like the call was so delayed, so incredibly delayed.
I agree.
He let
Like, but
Varsho
people
walk
were getting
halfway
on
down the
Bo.
line before he threw the punch-out signal. Like, even look at when Glass now actually throws the baseball over. It wasn't a snap play. He wasn't like everybody on planet Earth thought that was a walk. And you know why they thought that? Because the ball was over the catcher's head. Like, normally if a guy has to reach up for a baseball, the umpire kind of is able to have the wherewithal to say, oh, yeah, ball 4. And instead, I think, and I will go to my grave believing this, that umpire, who was it, Baczynski? I think who cares? The fact that we even know the umpires' names drives me up the
Always
wall.
bad.
The fact that Varsho made the move down the line before he made the call will always be my belief that the umpire goes, how dare you? Strike. Like I'm bang, strike 2. And I saw some people killing Bo for that. I don't agree. I think that anybody on planet Earth starts to make that trot down to second base, and these people that are hitting me with, you got to stay on the bag and Bo's got to be smarter than that. I'm like, yeah, the idea that you think you know more about about base running than Bo Bichette is truly absurd. So that one I think is completely on the umpire. I think for me, it's two other ones that are really going to haunt me. One is clearly pitching to Shohei Ohtani with Sir Anthony Dominguez when he hits the second home run and going like, hey, the one guy who can't beat you. And there's an argument there for, okay, well, if you walk him, though, the game-tying runs on first. And it's not like Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman are some kind of chump change losers that have never driven in any runs in some big spots. But and then the other one is pulling Barger for straw when your lineup was so paper thin already. And I genuinely am not sure, and I'm going to find out today, whether or not Miles Straw is even faster than Addison Barger. It felt like such an overthink. But what did you think of the Shohei decision to pitch to him again for the second home run, the Sir Anthony Dominguez spot?
I know it's easy to say now, but in the moment, I didn't mind pitching to him because it's like, I understand that's in a 1-run game, 5-4. You don't want to have Shohei be the guy that beats you. But in my mind, I'm like, well, he's already homered. Like he's gotten the home run out. Like he's not going to do it again, right? And then he does, and it's just then you're like, oh yeah, no, it's Shohei Ohtani. Like that's just kind of what that's his thing is he does that. I would have pitched to him just again to like what you were saying. You had Mookie and you had Freddie after that. And there's been times during the regular season where you would not the Blue Jays, but like teams had intentionally walked Shohei to get to Mookie, and he takes that personally. Like it's already a very special player, but then you're motivating him to the point where it's like, yeah, we'd rather pitch to you, dude. And it's like, I'm an MVP, right? Like, like I'm really good at this game. So I wouldn't have tempted fate there, but obviously it doesn't work out. The Barger decision is kind of what's glaring, especially when it comes down to how long the game went from there. But just, because we were streaming and we had Kenny Mayne on with us. So like we're yapping for the entire game. So maybe I'm not remembering it as clearly as I should, but it's like there were a few instances where maybe Toronto had second and third, like threatening a little bit, but I don't know that they were ever really threatening. I mean, how many situations did you feel like this is it? This is where we're going to break through?
Breakthrough? Not many, because that's just, I think, the resting state of a baseball fan watching their team in a huge moment where it does feel like it's building and you're going to make a mistake. I didn't think that that was the time to do it. I was fine with the Kirk pinch run because Kirk's such a liability on the base paths. The only thing, again, the case for leaving it was you don't have really any bats left, and this is one of your most credible guys. There was also, like, Kirk looked a little beat up maybe. He took that one hack where didn't look right after he swung. So I did wonder if that played even 1% into the decision-making there. But what I will say is I did think Schneider was a little panicky in the game. I did think that some of the moves that he made with the pinch runners were a little desperate, especially considering the Dodgers. I know the way the bullpen pitched was phenomenal, but the Dodgers are not exactly like, oh, well, if you just get a one-run lead against them, you should be good to go here. That you kind of had to be thinking a little bit long-term. And to me, some of that desperation didn't really play out for the Dodgers, and they had a chance, right, where Max Muncy gets to second base and there's one out. And I thought for certain that they were going to pinch run for him based on where they were in the ball game. And you're thinking like, a little bleeder, you want to be able to have a guy who at least has the opportunity to get home rather than set up the double play. And Dave Roberts didn't do it. He didn't get panicky. And I think it's fair to say that, again, not the primary reason. There's a million different things in this baseball game, whether it's bad luck injury, Shohei legacy game, 2 of 12 with runners in scoring position and just 19 runners left on base, the decision to pitch to Shohei, all this different stuff. But I think that you can credibly say that John Schneider did get outmanaged in that baseball game. And in something where there is such a little threshold between a win and a loss, that matters.
It does, but I mean, as someone who has watched a lot of Dave Roberts postseason baseball,
Exactly, man.
It's not like he's the master of pulling strings. Like he's not. He's a good manager, but he's not the guy that's going to outthink you. Mm-hmm. So if you're having the conversation of being outmanaged in a playoff game by Dave Roberts, that's not the best sign. But I still, I go back to this conversation we had on the podcast last night. I feel like everyone else was down on the Jays, and I was like, what's preventing Biebs from going out there, pitching into the 6th inning, and the guys that have gotten you here offensively, like I understand, like George Springer is a big part of what they have going on, but in that division series, like it wasn't Springer, it was Varsho, it was Clement, it was Vladdy. It's like I don't want to sit here and act like just because Springer's not in the lineup that it's over and like there's no way that this could be like overcome. I absolutely believe, like, from an offensive standpoint, they have enough to get by. As we just saw last night, the bullpen, I mean, the silver lining here, they shut down the Dodgers for 9 innings. Like there's part of last night's game that you could pluck and say that would have been a shutout, a combined shutout of the Dodgers. You just needed a little bit of offense. But yeah, you just didn't have that big hit. You didn't have that guy come through. But, there was a point in time after game 1 of the World Series where we are talking about a Blue Jays offense that was, I don't know, averaging close to 7 runs a game. Mm-hmm. Like an all-time offense after game 1 of the World Series. And I'm not just saying in that one game. We're talking about the entire sample of the postseason. The Toronto Blue Jays as a team, you could put them down in the history books as one of the best offensive performing lineups in the history of the sport. So that doesn't just go away when you lose one guy. It's like, I understand, big part of it, but he's not the guy. He's a guy, very important guy, but it's not something that should shut down the whole program.
No, listen, man, after that game 1, they were hitting over 300 as a team over the course of the entire playoffs. It's pretty good. That doesn't happen because just one George Springer, right? That happens because your entire lineup is turning over and everybody's contributing throughout the lineup. The Springer thing definitely throws the lineup into a real flux in terms of what you're doing. I think like there's a case where you say, well, now are you DHing Bo because you want to be able to keep him in the ball game a little bit longer, even with the liability on the base paths. But if you're putting him in the DH spot and you're keeping IKF, It does mean that you're going to be thinner when it comes to what you have to throw at this Dodgers pitching. And it seems to me, anyways, that again, the blueprint for the Blue Jays was what they executed yesterday, which is get to their starting pitching, chase them before that they can reach deep into a ball game, get to that bullpen, and hopefully expose them. But to me, the hope is, again, outside of the character of the team, the depth of the lineup, the fact that it's only 2-1 in the series. Like, yeah, if that's 3-1, the series is over, whatever. It's a heartbreaking loss. It's an opportunity miss. It's all this different stuff. My little sneaky hope is that Shohei Ohtani, even though he didn't have to take ABs, he was basically just walking around late in that game, that he's got to pitch today. And yeah, he's a gamer, he's an all-timer, but maybe, just maybe, this throws off his routine. Maybe, just maybe, this throws him off just a touch when it comes to his rhythm, and you can actually get to this guy. But from your perspective, because again, I think it's different when you are impartial to a series, right? Like, I don't know, maybe you have a slight rooting interest in the Blue Jays or whatever. Maybe you're rooting for Mookie Betts to get another one and torture you even further, where it's like, Mookie is, do your thing. But what was your feeling watching Shohei last night? Like, again, this is somebody who did something with the extra base hits that we haven't seen since 1906. Like, pretty impressive. It's a guy who reached base more times in a baseball game in a playoffs than anybody else in the history of the sport. And yeah, this all happening while you have the understanding he's going to pitch the following day.
Yeah, I mean, no one else, I believe no one else in baseball history has homered twice and doubled twice in the same postseason game. And I think no one, maybe, I think it was Corey Seager had 5 walks in a playoff game before. So it's almost like he had 2 never before seen games combined in one game. It really is incredible what he's able to do. But to your point about his preparation, and I mean, look at, like Yamamoto going out to the bullpen last night. I know we haven't touched on that at all, but he was out there for a decent amount of time. And there was a shot that Fox had where, the dugout phone rings and they're going back and forth talking about it. And you can kind of read their lips being like, yeah, he's not ready.
No.
Can't
get
it takes
loose.
a while for, it takes a while for these guys, the starters, to get ready and to prepare their bodies. And that comes with a certain amount of rest that Shohei presumably did not get last night. I think he's like a sleep for 10 hours a night guy.
Yeah,
He's got like a very strict sleep regimen. So that's thrown out of whack. And then he's also someone that, I feel like is very meticulous. And there's, to your point, no way that his routine was not disrupted because of last night's game. So we'll see if it has an effect. I think, outside of just the routine not being able to be completed the way that he normally does, he's on his feet a lot. Like he was out there on the base paths every single. He was on the bases 9 different times. There was one play where he not the play where he got thrown out at second base. There was a play where he went into second, and it looked like he might have tweaked something.
Yeah, the trainer went out to go give him a look.
Yeah, so there's, I don't know. I'm not saying that it's a guarantee that he's going to come into the game in game 4 and he's not going to look right, because it's Shohei Ohtani. What are the odds that we're talking about all these different grasping at straws details of Shohei Ohtani's routine and his performance last night and the time that he put in game 3, and then he just goes out there and pitches 6 shutout innings because he's Shohei Ohtani. There's just nothing would surprise me at this point. But from a human standpoint, which we're not exactly sure that he is one, from a human standpoint, yeah, it should have an effect. But the question is, will it have an effect on arguably the greatest talent to ever play this game? I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Again, to speak to the all-time haunt of it all, the fact that it was a Shohei Ohtani all-time game in a World Series just means, and the way that Major League Baseball promotes him now as the face of the game, where, he hits warning track balls that they put on the MLB Twitter account. They're like, Shohei Ohtani almost got one. And you're like, okay, we get it. He's good. We don't need you to force feed it to the point where every little thing the guy does is celebrated. But so I'm a Seahawks fan. We're on the other side of this one. They have one of the worst losses in Super Bowl history to your Boston or your New England Patriots. Mm-hmm. And it's an all-time haunt loss, right? Because they don't hand Marshawn Lynch the ball on the goal line. but it also gets played more because it's a Tom Brady Super Bowl. So it goes into the lore of the game, the way they promote it, and over and over and over again. And I couldn't stop thinking about that last night too, how this isn't just some like random Diamondbacks victory where it gets shuffled into the annals of baseball history. And yeah, it's a bad loss and it's a classic game, but ultimately it kind of gets forgotten. It's a Shohei game. So you're going to see highlights of this forever and ever and ever. His home run forever and ever and ever. And you're always going to have to wonder whether or not they should have pitched to him. Last one, Max Scherzer. He actually delivered, again, a million years ago. You don't even remember that was like a big talking point coming into this game. But that's maybe his last start in the majors. And I thought that he delivered. So to you, again, thinking about that guy's career and a bit of retrospective, what's going to be like kind of your lasting memory of Max Scherzer, if in fact that is it?
Man, I've been such a fan of Max Scherzer for a long time. You know, out of the trio of Scherzer, Verlander, Kershaw, I think it's very poetic that these guys have made it to the end with each other. But Scherzer was that guy that you know, when we talk about the dawning of the $100 million plus contracts and how many bad examples there were of guys that signed for a lot of money and it just never panned out. And here's why you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. Max Scherzer was one of those guys where it's like, yeah, but sometimes it works out. Like, look at this contract. Look at how great he was. His heroics in the postseason. Like, this is a guy that, you know, we're talking about Springer and the pain tolerance thing. Like, people forget, like, Scherzer, by the end of that World Series in 19, he was in a lot of pain, did not care. You know, he hasn't been a Toronto Blue Jay for very long, but he'll go out there and say, "Skip, give me the ball." You know, like he will go out. Like, let's just say, for example, he was in some kind of pain similar to 2019, and he was the guy that needed to pitch in this 2025 postseason. He would go out there and be like, "I'm giving you my last bullet. If that's what it takes to win a World Series for the Blue Jays." That's the jersey that I'm wearing. That's the team I represent. I'm happy to go out there and do that. He's just a different breed. It's been a pleasure to watch his entire career. It's been extra special to watch this postseason run, knowing that he is at the end of the line, but he can still dig deep for that 96 when he needs it. He can still have that intimidating conversation with his manager to convince him to stay in a ball game and then deliver once he does stay in the ball game. Yeah, it's just I think it was very cool, even if it was for one batter, that we kind of got Kershaw on the Dodgers side of the scorecard and Scherzer on the Blue Jays side of the scorecard just one last time. I think it's only the third time ever. It was I think it's the third time in their careers that they appeared in the same game. Obviously, the first two were starts against each other, but yeah, I thought it was very fitting that they both appeared in the same game. And I'm assuming that this is Scherzer's swan song, and we just don't know it. Not quite sure about that. But if this is the end, then he went out with dignity, and he went out not as a shell of himself, which I think is very important to these guys.
Yeah, it's huge. And what I thought for me, the lasting memory was, I think that athletes are becoming more cookie cutter, like as time is going on. Maybe that's just an old guy, you know, yelling at the clouds take. But to me, if you just look across the leagues, like the NBA now is everybody, they want to be 6'9" and shoot threes and get layups, and that's it. And the personalities are changing. Social media, I think, changes the way that certain guys are. The way that they're brought up through minor leagues, through development systems, is more in mind of this is the way that you do it through these academies, rather than like a wider variety of this guy's weird and wild story in terms of how he got here. There's always going to be outliers. But I love watching old Randy Johnson highlights because it was, man, not only was this guy a psycho, but he looked like a psycho and he was scary looking. And what I thought about Max Scherzer was I hope we get another guy who looks the way that he is, which is an intimidating psychopath who goes out there and delivers for you. Like, he is a one-of-one, you will remember him athlete, not just for the way that he performed, because lots of guys have, Hall of Fame careers, but not every guy is also kind of like a Hall of Fame performer. And Scherzer, to me, checks both of those boxes. And I think it's actually why he'll probably be even remembered more than the other two guys that you'd mentioned that he's synonymous with. So I don't know. Maybe that doesn't end up aging, but I do think that's the case. Anyways, hey, man, again, you do the biggest podcast in baseball. You were up until 4 a.m., and I kept you for like 40 minutes. So thanks for doing that, buddy. I appreciate you.
Anytime, anytime. I know we've been talking Jays for a long time, and I was kind of, I want to say it's been since even like before like 2022, like the dawn of the Vladdy Jr. era, and I had to see this through. I don't care that I got 3.5 hours of sleep. I was like, the Blue Jays being in the World Series, it's fulfilling the prophecy that we started talking ball together, and we had to see it through.
God, I hope they do too. Jared Carrabis again. Baseball is dead in Section 10. Thanks for making time, buddy.
Anytime.
Yeah. So, all right. Subscribe to this podcast. Leave 5 stars. If you're a new listener, please do that. It helps out the show. You can reach out anytime on Twitter and Instagram at JD Bunkis. I try to go through the DMs. Today might be a little worse because, God, I'll probably sleep all day before I do the pregame with Ennis at 7 and watch game 4 of this series. I'm not over it. I'll never be over it, but I'm shifting out of crybaby mode now. I'm going into Blue Jays, get this thing done. Again, procrastinator Blue Jays, just when you think they're dead, Blue Jays. Next man up, Blue Jays. Everybody eats Blue Jays. Somebody, random, unsung hero, Blue Jays. Come through, win tonight. And yeah, Shane Bieber, this is what they got you for. They bumped you back. They said, when we're looking at who gives us the best chance to win, they went with 41-year-old Max Scherzer ahead of you. Prove everybody wrong. Go out there and shove tonight. Give your bullpen a breather. Maybe Ernie Clement in the leadoff spot. Maybe Bo lasts a little bit longer in this baseball game. There's so many players on this team that have contributed throughout this year. Man, how many times did people think that Addison Barger was done? I thought Nathan Lucas at one point with like a month left in the season might not end up making the playoff roster. And he's been one of their most clutch performers going. Yeah, Miles Straw felt feeble in moments. How many times did he come up with big spots? Like, this team has guys, and this team has guts. And so I'm out of crybaby mode, and I'm back into believe mode. Quick break. We'll come back, and we'll close the show. At least you can say you saw history. 18 innings, second longest game in World Series history. 6 hours and 40 minutes of game time. 44 players used. 19 pitchers used. 609 pitches thrown. 29 strikeouts. 153 plate appearances. And 37 combined runners left on base. Again, too many Blue Jays. A lot of those, 1, 2, 3, 4, are World Series records. So you'll remember it forever. Let's just hope that you remember it the way that you remember the Aaron Judge home run, in that it was a moment where people started to doubt, but that they overcame it. Because again, that is what this team has done all season long. They have overcome these moments, and they have shown they are incredibly adept at handling adversity. I'm on the pregame tonight at 7 o'clock with Ben Ennis. Game's at 8. Enjoy it.